I never thought my life would intersect with hers again. The first time I saw her, she was a wounded alien girl, left behind in the ruins of a skirmish on a distant colony planet. The battle had been brutal. Her people, caught between two warring factions, were struggling to survive. I had stumbled across her while evacuating civilians, and in that moment, I didn't think of politics, empires, or destiny. I only thought of saving her life. Her species, the Lasari, were slender, ethereal beings with translucent skin and eyes like liquid silver. She lay among shattered machinery and scorched ground, her breathing shallow, and I could see the faint glimmer of blood pooling beneath her. Without hesitation, I lifted her into my arms, carrying her through the chaos to the transport ships. "Thank you," she whispered, barely audible, as I stabilized her on the med bed. Her voice was soft, yet it carried an unspoken weight, a dignity even in her weakened state. I didn't recognize it then, and I certainly couldn't have imagined the future it foretold. Years passed. I moved through the galaxy, completing my missions as a human envoy, always haunted by the memory of her silver eyes and fragile strength. I never expected to see her again. That chapter of my life seemed closed, a small act in a vast universe. But the universe has a way of surprising you. It happened during a summit on a distant planet, where delegates from dozens of star systems gathered to discuss trade, alliances, and peace treaties. The council hall was immense, a dome of gleaming obsidian and hovering platforms, each representing a different civilization. I arrived early, reviewing notes, when the room hushed and all eyes turned toward the center. There she was, the girl I had saved. Older now, poised and commanding. Her hair, once wild and tangled from the ruins, was now a cascade of silver lavender strands, flowing gracefully behind her shoulders. Her posture radiated authority, and every movement was deliberate, measured. She was no longer the frightened child I had rescued. She was regal, a figure of power and respect. A ripple of whispers passed through the council as she approached. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. She paused at the human delegation, and our eyes met. Recognition passed between us, instantaneous and unspoken. She smiled, and it was a smile that carried memory, acknowledgement, and perhaps even a touch of gratitude. She stepped forward, ignoring the guards and aides flanking her. Every council member watched, stunned. No one had ever seen a Lasari royal move with such defiance and focus. And then she reached me. "You," she said, her voice calm but unwavering. "You are here." I nodded, unsure how to respond. I didn't expect to see you," I admitted. "You saved me once," she replied. "Now I am here to save more. My people, my empire. But I wanted you to know, I never forgot." The council murmured. They had no idea of our history, no understanding of the bond forged in the rubble of a distant battlefield. To them, she was Queen Lysaria of the Lasari Empire, and I was just a human envoy. Yet between us, the memory of that day lingered like a quiet pulse beneath the surface of the galaxy. Over the next few hours, I watched her in action. She negotiated trade treaties with precision, diffused tensions between rival factions, and commanded her advisors with clarity and insight. Her decisions were firm, yet tempered with compassion. Every move, every word, carried the weight of experience, of survival, of lessons learned from hardship. Later, she requested a private audience. We met in her chambers, a soaring room with translucent walls overlooking the twin moons of her home world. The atmosphere was serene, but her presence was magnetic, a constant reminder that the girl I had saved had become a ruler capable of moving entire civilizations. "You look different," I said softly. I have had to grow, she admitted. There is no time for hesitation when the survival of an empire is at stake. I nodded, understanding. I always knew you were strong. Even then, when I carried you from the ruins, I sensed it. She smiled, a touch of warmth breaking through the regal composure. You saw me differently. You saw what others could not. That changed everything. The council called again, and she had to leave, but the moment stayed with me. I realized that our paths, once separated by circumstance and distance, had converged again for a reason. Not by fate alone, but by choices, the small, quiet decisions that ripple across years, shaping the future in ways no one expects. Days later, I traveled with her entourage to inspect the outer colonies. She moved with a combination of authority and empathy, listening to the needs of her people, engaging with them personally. And always, she acknowledged me, not as an envoy, not as a guest, but as someone who had been part of her life when the world was cruel and her future uncertain. During a quiet moment, we found ourselves overlooking the planet's oceans, the twin moons casting silver light across the water. She turned to me, eyes reflecting the glow. Do you remember that day? She asked. Every detail, I said. I never imagined you'd become what you are now. I never imagined I'd survive it, she admitted. And yet here I am. A queen, not because of ambition alone, but because of the people who helped me when I couldn't help myself. You are among them. Her words struck me deeply. I had only acted to save a life, never imagining it would echo through the years, shaping empires and altering destinies. And yet, here she was, proof that one act of courage, one decision to act without thought of recognition, could resonate across time and space. Weeks passed, and our interactions became a delicate balance of duty and camaraderie. I advised her on diplomatic matters, shared perspectives from human civilization, and, sometimes, simply listened. The bond we had formed in the ruins remained, an unspoken acknowledgement that some connections transcend politics, distance, and even species. The final day of my visit, she escorted me to the palace gardens. The light of the setting suns filtered through crystalline leaves, casting a soft glow across the paths. She stopped, turning to me fully. You have my thanks, she said. Not for the missions we face now, but for the moment when my life could have ended. You saved me then, and by doing so, you changed everything. You taught me to trust, to believe in more than survival. I felt a lump in my throat. I didn't know it would matter this much, I whispered. Sometimes, she replied softly, the smallest acts matter the most. That day, you chose to act when no one else would. That choice shaped who I am now, a queen capable of seeing beyond appearances, beyond fear, beyond what others expect. That is why I will never forget you. I nodded, words failing me. I realized that our story, beginning in the chaos of battle and culminating in the heart of an empire, was not just about survival or power or duty. It was about trust, courage, and the recognition of human strength in a galaxy that often underestimated it. As I departed the Lysari Empire, I looked back one last time. Queen Lysaria stood upon her balcony, regal and radiant, surveying her realm with a mix of authority and care. She had risen from the ruins, carrying the weight of an empire, yet she had never forgotten the human who once chose to see her, to save her, when the world had turned its back. And in that moment, I understood the profound truth. Sometimes, saving a life is not just an act of compassion. It is a decision that shapes destinies, alters futures, and echoes across the stars. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and filled with wonders beyond imagining, but I carried with me the certainty that even in the face of empires and cosmic uncertainty, the human heart, the courage to act, to trust, and to protect could leave a mark that time and space could never erase. Queen Lysaria's reign would endure, shaped not only by her brilliance, but by a human who had once carried her through the ruins. And I knew that wherever the stars took me next, that truth would remain, etched in memory and in the course of history. Ending. As I prepared to depart the Lysari Empire, I glanced back at the palace one last time. Queen Lysaria stood on her balcony, her silver lavender hair catching the glow of the twin suns, radiating authority, grace, and strength. She had risen from the ruins I once carried her from, becoming a ruler who would shape her people's destiny. She caught my gaze and smiled, a quiet, knowing smile that spoke of recognition, gratitude, and an unspoken bond between us. "Remember," she said softly, "courage and compassion can change destinies, even across the stars." I nodded, understanding fully now that the smallest act, a choice to save, to protect, to trust, can ripple across time, shaping not just lives, but empires. I realized that my simple act of helping her years ago had left an indelible mark on history and on her. As my ship lifted off and the Lysari capital faded beneath me, I carried with me the certainty that humanity, often underestimated, holds a power beyond technology, armies, or politics, the courage to act, the heart to care, and the strength to make a difference. And in that moment, I knew I would never forget the day the girl I saved became a queen, and the day I learned that even a single human could leave a mark on an empire.